It was the worst day of my life. When I found out that I was HIV positive, everything just went blank. The only thing that I was thinking about, I'm gonna die. I was worried about my baby that I'm carrying. The counselor introduced me to the program that is Mothers2Mothers. She said to me, today you're going to feel like this, but tomorrow you're gonna feel better. A mentor mother helps all pregnant women who are newly diagnosed with HIV to support them emotionally and give them education about the treatment that they're going to take, and to support them right through their pregnancy and after they deliver their babies. Thanks to Mothers2Mothers, my baby was HIV negative. My daughter is 8 years old. She's my bundle of joy. When I was in the support group every day, that is where I was appointed to be a mentor mother. I think women look at me as a person who has been in their shoes. It's so nice when you feel and hear the mother say to you, Denise, my baby's HIV negative. And now I'm pregnant again. I'm taking my medication each and every day. My baby will be HIV negative.
Hi, my name is Josephine Yerkeba. I'm the news editor at romper.com, a website for millennial moms, and I'm here today to talk with Mothers2Mothers. We don't often hear about mothers in the developed world giving birth to HIV-positive babies, but there are still more than 200 babies infected every day in sub-Saharan Africa, and almost 7,000 young girls and women are infected globally every week. AIDS is still the leading cause of maternal death, and it's entirely preventable. So enter Mothers2Mothers, an organization born and operating in sub-Saharan Africa, and their goal is to create an HIV-free generation and to keep moms and families healthy. So I'm here with 3 of the incredible women who work with this organization. Babalwa Mbono from South Africa. She tested HIV positive in 2001 while pregnant with her 2nd child. And at that time, many HIV positive people were dying. And so it was just incredibly fortunate for her to find Mothers2Mothers. She became one of their first clients and mentor mothers. And then second, we have Relebohile Leoatha, who I'm going to call Lebo for this little Q&A. She's from Lesotho, and she found out she was HIV positive while pregnant at 15 years old, and she just thought her world was going to end. And then we have Smalley, who is a former television producer who moved her family from Hollywood to Cape Town to help co-found Mothers2Mothers because she was so struck by the inequality of the HIV pandemic. So my first question is for Babalwa and Lebo. Could you tell us how you found out you were infected with HIV? Let's start with you, Babalwa.
Good afternoon. My name is Babalwa Mbono. Was born in Cape Town, grew up there. When I was pregnant, my 2nd-born child, she's 14 years now this year, I went for a normal antenatal care, which I had to see the doctor and gone through the routine of HIV testing, which then was something that everybody was scared to do because you don't know what would come out. Most women in Africa are doing HIV testing when they are when they are pregnant. They get to know their status then, which is too emotionally and strenuous for the woman who is pregnant. So I went through the same situation as well. So when I get in, I tested, and I was tested HIV positive. It was 2002 then. So I was so stressed. I was so afraid. At the same time, I was angry because I didn't know where all this was coming from. I had all those questions, but I didn't have answers for them. That time, I was married. So with the help of Mothers2Mothers, I was able to meet a mentor mother who was there, work with me, hand in hand with me, giving me education on that first day, which was very emotional, and I couldn't understand why me. The question was, why me? After so long. And this was my second-born child, remember, that I've been infected into. So for me, it was a wall falling into me. But with the grace of God, with the help of Mentor Mother program, the Mentor Mother educated me and gave me support and encouraged me to take the medication, which was one that helped me to be able to prevent my child to transmit HIV. Today, I'm sitting with children that are living and are HIV-free, 2 of them. So initially, I've got 3 children. My firstborn is 21 years old, is a boy, and the secondborn, which I was diagnosed with now, she's 14, and my lastborn is 10 years old, which is my second child, and the PMTCT, Prevention of Mother-to-Child Transmission Program, which he is also HIV-free.
Thank you so much. Now, Lebo, it's incredible. So, Lebo, if you want to share your incredible story for us as well, how you found out you were HIV positive.
Thank you very much. My name is Relebohile. I'm from Lesotho, a kingdom crisscrossed with a network of rivers and ranges of mountains. I found out that I was living with HIV in 2006 while I get pregnant at the age of 15. I was very shocked when they told me that I had HIV. I was still at school, but I had to drop out because other students would stare and laugh at me. So my mother encouraged me to go to the clinic, and when I reached the clinic, they advised me to take an HIV test. Unfortunately, it was HIV positive. According to my tradition, I and my boyfriend had to get married at the age of 15. So my boyfriend didn't want to get tested, but he became ill and she went for tests and she was HIV positive too. So I met with Mothers2Mothers in 2014. So Mothers2Mothers, Mentor Mothers taught me how to adhere well and get a positive life. So I finally got people to talk to, people who really understood what does it feel like to be living with a long life illness. So that's how I met with Mothers2Mothers and knew about my status. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Babalwa, can you tell us why you decided to become a mentor mother?
For me, it was to give more or to give back support, education to those women who gone through the same experience that I went through when I was also first diagnosed with HIV, when there was no one to talk to then. So being a mentor mother for me was to be able to empower those women to be like me, sharing my own experience, that I went through this, I've taken my treatment, look at me, I'm looking healthy, I'm living healthy life for me to be able to look after my children and my family. So on that note, I'm able to support these women, sharing some other issues, I'm sharing some other difficult things that they cannot share with anyone. So being a mentor mother, they are able, you are their shield. You are a shield for them. So they are able to come and talk to you whenever that they feel like to talk, whenever time they want to come and talk to you. The difference that we make as mentor mothers with these women is to see them on the first day where after they've been diagnosed, how they look like, sad, emotionally devastated. But in few days, as they come into the clinic or in the facility, you are able to see them looking good, smiling, happy, seeing themselves that they've empowered. They've got that life back that you've been missing with them. So for me to be a mentor mother is to make that impact and that difference to those women and to see those little babies living HIV-free.
And if I could just say, so for everyone who doesn't know what Mothers2Mothers is and what the mentor model is, I'd just love to give a bit of overview so you can understand why their stories are so powerful. When we started Mothers2Mothers, there were, gosh, almost 1,400 babies being born every day, HIV positive. I mean, that is staggering to me, especially since at that point we had really almost eradicated pediatric AIDS here in the US. But the reason is because in sub-Saharan Africa, the medical systems are so broken and there are so few doctors. And so nurses run everything and they just don't have time to be able to sit down and support a young, frightened, pregnant woman who first learns that she's HIV positive. And just to give you an example, I mean, here in the US, we talk about nursing shortages, doctor shortages, but we really don't have anything like the lack of support that some of our countries face. In Mozambique alone, I mean, think of a country like Mozambique, there are 3 doctors and 21 nurses for every 100,000 people. So there's fewer people to help these women than in like a single floor of a medical tower here in the US. So it was nobody for them to talk to. And so women were coming in, and as Babalwa says, getting their first HIV test while they're pregnant. And there'd be nobody who spoke the common language, nobody who had time to tell them that there was medicine available to prevent the transmission. And it's very easy to prevent the transmission. And so they'd be so frightened by the stigma that they'd go home and never disclose their status to anybody, never come back for their treatment. And although nations were pumping millions of dollars into the medical intervention, women weren't taking advantage of it because they weren't being told about it and they were too frightened. And so that's why the role of the mentor mother is so important, because now when a pregnant woman comes in and finds out this devastating diagnosis, a woman like Relebohile or Babalwa are there to hold their hand and put their arms around them and say, you're not alone, I'm HIV positive too, we're going to get through this together. And as a result, women are kept in treatment, they come to treatment earlier. So I wanted to give just sort of a historical overview. And as you said, we still have 200 babies born every day, HIV positive in sub-Saharan Africa, but compared to what it used to be, we've made tremendous strides and we are so within reach of having an HIV-free generation.
Yeah, that actually jumps to our next question perfectly. Robin, an HIV-free generation is a huge goal, especially when you are combating those stigmas that you mentioned. So how close are we to that, and where does Mothers2Mothers sort of fit in helping mediate those obstacles?
Well, we are so close, and that's the exciting news, and that's why we're out here really today to sort of spread the words, to educate people, because we don't talk about this here in this country. I mean, we rarely hear about a young woman giving birth to an HIV-positive baby here. We are so blessed and so fortunate. We have brought the rates down in sub-Saharan Africa tremendously. And what we're looking at now, which we can talk about, is what happens when those babies are negative, but then contract it later in life. Then it sort of defeats the whole purpose. So Mothers2Mothers is really taking a family-centered approach. So yes, we want babies to survive, but more important, we want them to thrive. So Mothers2Mothers now, our mentor mothers, are there through early childhood as early childhood development mentor mothers. We now have an adolescent program so that we can keep these young women. Babs's daughter, Anati, who's with us today, is 14 years old. Babs told you she was born HIV negative, which is so something to celebrate. But at 14, she's still negative, and we're going to keep her negative so that when it comes time for her to be a mother, we will have broken the back of pediatric AIDS.
Great, thank you. Yeah, let's actually get into that a little bit. Many people don't know that an HIV-positive pregnant woman can have a negative baby. So how exactly does that happen? And any of you can answer.
As all women has to get medical care when they are pregnant, it is important for the women who are pregnant to be educated on how to take their treatment properly and supported on that. For the transmission for the baby not to get transmitted with HIV, you have to adhere, take your treatment properly, live positive life, healthy lifestyle. Try to make sure that you relieve stress by making sure that you talk to someone when something is bothering you. That positive living is disclosing your status, part of it, which make it easy for you to take your treatment. And in that way, you will be able to get chances of having an HIV negative baby. That is possible. It can happen.
Thank you so much. And that actually jumps into our next question perfectly. It sounds so easy if women have the support and they're getting their treatment. So why can't they? And how does Mothers2Mothers help fight that?
Well, all of our mentor mothers are really role models in their communities. And I want to point out that they're not volunteers. Part of the program that is so important is our mentor mothers are professionalized. They're paid. They become a third tier in this medical system. And so they are respected in their townships and villages and communities, and they become the go-to people. So they're really on the front lines of making sure that women can adhere to their treatment and stay on program, and that their families get tested, and that all of this important work happens. Do you guys want to add something to that? You're the experts.
No, it's clear.
Okay, to add on to what Robin has been saying, also we look at the communities. Remember, our clients are coming from the community where our mentor mothers are coming from. So as a mentor mother, you are a role model in your community as well. So it's easy for you to understand the dynamics of the community, the challenges that the community are getting across with, and then you are able now to address those challenges when you are within the community. It's easy for the people in the community to come and talk to you because they know you. You are living with HIV, you are open up with your status, you are there to support them. So on that way, we are sort of linking our services, health services from the community to the healthcare facility, whereby we are able to identify those people, those women, early booking, so that we are able to refer them early for booking and tested, so that they can be tested for HIV and be on treatment on time, so that we are able to save them and their babies.
Yeah, it's really an incredible approach because it's so comprehensive. And earlier I shared a really terrible stat that there are almost 7,000 adolescent infections each week globally. And so, Lebo, you were one of those, I know. And so why are people in that demographic so vulnerable? Why were you so vulnerable to infection?
Thank you. Actually, I didn't have a great time with my mother so that she can teach me about HIV. So I think that thing made me vulnerable because I didn't know much about HIV. I didn't know how to save myself from being infected. That is why I ended up being HIV positive. So for other girls, I think they actually need more support from their parents. Like it was never been done before, but we are now trying as Mothers2Mothers, mentor mothers, that we approach those girls, we teach them, we educate them, and we support them for anything that they are going through. So it is easy now that they can open up from us because we talk to them looking at their age, and we don't just go to them. We make sure that the person that is going to them is a person that she is at their age group, so that they can have the same language, open up, be free to talk to them. Yeah.
Can I also, she has a really interesting perspective because your boyfriend when you were 15 was 26, and that's a very big challenge for young girls throughout Africa, our relationships with older men, and maybe you can talk a little bit more about why that is.
Actually, in my country, anybody when she falls pregnant, she is encouraged to get married by that guy, especially if he doesn't deny. So I ended up being married by that guy, which was very old than me, 11 years ahead of me, because I was made pregnant by him. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And so I know that doctors and nurses are supposed to be the medical experts, at least here in the US and in most places, but why is that not the case in Africa?
You want to go ahead? Go ahead, Babs.
Okay. I would say in Africa, the most challenge is that our women, our clinicians have to see more women, more clients at the time. So it gives them limited time to be able to sit with the client, going through with the client, understand the challenges of the client, be able to support the client, giving him more time to support the client. So the purpose of mentor mothers to be there is to be able to close that gap, whereby the clinicians don't have much more time to spend with the clients. Now they are able to look at the clinical part of the client, and then the mentor mother will fit in on making sure that this client get all the support that she needs.
Great, thank you so much. And that jumps to our next question really well. So Mothers2Mothers started 15 years ago, and you were primarily focused in health centers, like they've mentioned, bridging this gap there. So now you're in communities too, and why is that so important?
Well, so much of sub-Saharan Africa is highly rural, and there is very little adequate transportation. So there's oftentimes women will have to walk hours, and certainly in Lesotho, the first time I was in Lesotho, I watched this woman with no shoes. You know, it was freezing cold, it was raining, and she was walking. It's very mountainous in Lesotho. You know, walking up this mountain for hours, pregnant, to try to get to the nearest clinic, where she may have to wait online while 150 people ahead of her try to see this nurse that is harried beyond belief, where there's no electricity even at the clinic. We can't even give her a cup of tea before she starts the long walk down. So it is to tell a woman like that you need to be on treatment for life is terrifying, because she might be afraid to disclose to her partner, and therefore she can't get the money from him to even take, you know, the bus to the facility. So much has to be working together to empower her to be able to disclose, which is critical, and to be able to get to the mentor mothers. So the community component takes some of that out. We can go to them. We can empower them in their communities, and also we try to use mHealth. So we try to use cell phones as much as possible. And I think what people don't realize, you know, when I go out and I'm talking about how cost-effective Mothers2Mothers is. In fact, we did a study in Uganda that showed that for every dollar spent on Mothers2Mothers, saved $11.40 in averted treatment costs. So that, you know, that is huge. But in places like Uganda, we need to be able to reach people through phones. Well, you know, a $50 donation can go towards buying phone and cell time to save lives of women that might have to walk, you know, 10 miles in. So there's so many, you know, complications and challenges for women to be able to access the care they need, and for our mentor mothers to be able to either virtually or in person put their arms around them.
Yeah, great, thank you. And you sort of mentioned this a little bit when you talked about how Mothers2Mothers helps empower people to disclose to their families. So I know that Mothers2Mothers calls their approach family-centered, but other than that empowerment, what does that mean?
Well, family-centered means it's not just about a pregnant woman and it's not just about a baby. Because if we want to end pediatric AIDS, if we want to pass a legacy to our children that we were the generation that ended pediatric AIDS and created an HIV-free generation, just like my parents 100 years ago, you know, got rid of polio. So that's our mandate. So we have to then look not just at these two small pieces, but we have to look at the mother after she gives birth, at that baby, at the child, and whether that child will have hope and will be ready for school, so that they can get education, so that they can make healthy choices later, so that when they become a mother, and we've gone full circle, we've still taken care of the whole family.
Yeah, great, thank you so much. And so now we'll kind of go back to like here in the US. So what can people who are watching this do to get involved? I know that like, especially here in New York or any big city, we feel so pulled away from this subject, but maybe you can tell us why we shouldn't be and why it really is something that we need to be engaged with.
Well, you know, I mean, and I want to hear again from our wonderful mentor mothers, but the fact is everybody wants to make a difference in their life. It's why I uprooted my family to move to Africa, and it's something, there's nobody that can look in the mirror and say, oh, it's too big a problem, I can't do anything. So as I said, you know, I mean, my gosh, you know, $25, a $25 donation in a country like Malawi where we operate can pay for 5 women to go through the program. For $25, you could save 5 lives. I mean, so I can't discount the importance of of giving to those who don't have when we have so much. And then, of course, the other thing is we're here in New York this week because it's the UN General Assembly week. So we can all be politically involved. We can all let our representatives who control, Mothers2Mothers is 50% funded by the US government. I mean, we are so fortunate through PEPFAR and USAID. We're in political times where that can, where international issues can get overlooked and women like these can be overlooked. When we're this close to ending pediatric AIDS, we have to let our Congress people know, keep supporting this. We can't close our eyes to the fact that our future will be affected more by terrorism if we have a continent of Africa that has no hope, where young people grow up without health and without education. So we have to put the pressure on our representatives and say, they're not in America, but they matter, and their children matter, and stick up for the people that have no voice.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so we'll just go back to you, Babalwa and Lebo, before we go to questions, if there's anything you want to say to people here about why they need to be involved with this issue.
From my side is to just give people awareness on the program and what are we doing in Africa. And we are here to advocate as well for our women, so that we continue. We appreciate your support that you're giving us within the shows that you are showing, where we are putting us into even today. It means a great for us, because this is how people will get to know what we are doing in Africa to save women and their children's lives.
Okay, I'm really excited to be here. The one thing that I would like to say is that in Lesotho, we don't have so much men to mothers. So I would like to see these women, especially adolescents, having so much support from us as men to mothers, because they really need us. So if ever we could have more men to mothers to go and support each and every woman, these young girls, I think that would be my pressure.
And to follow up, in 2016, Mothers2Mothers reached almost 2 million people with services. Every one of those babies that is born HIV negative, that is born healthy, can be the next doctor that cures cancer, can be the next statesman that brings peace. I mean, every one of these babies, the potential is so enormous. And so we have to remember, they're not just numbers, they're people. And in 2016, Mothers2Mothers, among all the clients that we reach, we have eradicated pediatric AIDS. We have gotten the rates down to 1.6% across all of our countries where we operate, well below the 5% mandated by the UN that defines elimination of pediatric AIDS. So we have done it. We know how to do it, and how to do it revolves putting women and mothers at the heart of the health of their own family.
Great, yeah, thank you so much. So now we're going to go to the audience Q&A for questions.
Hi, so I was wondering, is there access to like maybe an online community of mothers, either that's part of Mothers2Mothers or just people that have gone through similar situations, and does Mothers2Mothers have a presence in other parts of the world too, where there's might be a similar issue with HIV?
That is such a good question, and nobody's ever asked it before, so great. There actually is no online community per se, because remember, in Africa, many places don't even have electricity, much less the kind of capability to have an online community. But it's a great idea, and one that we certainly should consider. And right now, the program is based in sub-Saharan Africa because the burden of pediatric AIDS is in sub-Saharan Africa. We're now in 8 countries. We'd like to be in a lot more. There are 21 countries globally that have been identified as the highest risk countries. And honestly, we would be in all of them if we had the funds to do so. So we're working on that.
Hi. So I was wondering, when you started this program, what were your challenges creating it and implementing it, and how has it evolved since?
Go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay. When the program started, actually, it was started by one of our doctors who was the gynecologist and obstetrician then, who would see all these women who are living with HIV while they were pregnant. So he identified that we as women that are coming to see her as pregnant women, we are given this treatment, but there's something that we are lacking of, the support. People are not adhering, people are not disclosing. So people have the postnatal depressions after delivery. Women are dying after delivery, they got sick. So he was wondering what causes that. So how did he start it? He invited few of his clients, which we were one of them as well, to come when he does his consultation. This woman who is a postnatal client will come and sit with him in the consultation. While he's busy with his medical records and medical matters with the client, then this woman will be sitting, talking to this client, educating this client, reinforcing some information, supporting this client. And then this is how the mentor-mother model was developed. So it was not so difficult because it was implemented within the healthcare system.
It was such a simple but elegant solution to what was considered a very complex problem. And again, it was all about educating, employing, and empowering mothers. And we started in the back of Mitch's car, this doctor that Babalwa was talking about, with nothing, with our credit cards and family and friends. And it was an idea that worked quickly. And so it took off. It took off faster than either of us ever anticipated.
And to add on as well, remember, a mentor-mother model is not about volunteering. So by giving someone incentives, you are empowering that person. That person will change her life. That person can do something for her family. So, but that empowerment, it makes that person to see herself in a better life, to see herself being able to manage, to do something for her family. So this is why it was not difficult for the program to be implemented.
Also, that because most of the doctors speak English most, so in our countries we speak our own language. So it was the best thing he did, that he included some people from community, some people who can talk the same language so that the clients can understand what we are saying.
Well, I was just going to say a funny story. When we first started, Mitch and I went to Ethiopia. They were interested in the program. Then this was in our infancy, and we thought we had it together. And we called it, at that time, we called it Mothers in a Box. And we gave them what we thought, everything they needed to know to start this program in Ethiopia. And they were wonderful. And then we get this call, and it's like, well, we have all this information, but where do we get the pencils? And we just, as Americans, we thought, well, we didn't think like that, and it really forced us to think we have to always involve people in the community, because we don't know the culture. Only they are the experts, and just that simple thing, where do we get the pencils, really was taught us so much.
Yeah, great, thank you. We have one more question.
Hi. So Mothers2Mothers speaks about empowering and supporting the whole family, particularly the mother and the child. But what about the fathers? Do you provide any support for the males in the community? Do you provide any education to further prevent the spread of HIV?
We actually do. We have a community project whereby they go door-to-door household visit. So that's where they meet fathers, because we know that fathers don't have much time to go to the health facilities, but we go straight to where they are and bring the service and education and support. And if the father can want to go to the facility, we encourage him to go as a couple, so that when he reaches at the facility, he can be given services first and go back to his duties.
To add on as well, in South Africa, male involvement is the key thing that we are doing across the country. The purpose is to bring on all the men to be able to be supportive and understand the prevention of mother-to-child transmission program, so that they are able to support their women in terms of disclosure, in terms of making informed decisions on the pregnancy or family planning, let me put it, on infant feeding as well. As we know that an HIV-positive woman can breastfeed. So that is one thing that we are promoting as well, because most people are not working. So for them to be able to strive, for this baby to strive and live longer life, we have to make sure that this mother is able to feed this baby accordingly. And now breastfeeding is promoted, but the risk is less if the mother has taken the treatment accordingly and book on time. So male involvement is there.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Relebohile and Babalwa, for sharing your stories today. I know that it's incredible to hear. And Robin, thank you for your continued work with Mothers2Mothers. Thank you for joining us at Build today. And if you want to find out more about Mothers2Mothers or make a donation, you can go to m2m.org. And thank you so much.